put in a party tag with my little brother to do some general season mule deer hunting here in Utah. And lucky enough, we both drew out.
Getting the deer tag in the mail was definitely the most exciting part of this year's hunting season, because that is the animal that I was dreaming to hunt. That is the animal I've been waiting to hunt. It's definitely hard to control the excitement from having a tag after so long. The last time a tag was in my name for me to bag an animal was probably close to about 8 to 10 years ago.
I really went into this hunt with a different mentality than I do other hunts. Don't get me wrong, I was looking to fill my tag as well, but I was looking more for the experience for my kid and for my little brother. So I did some scouting beforehand, just trying to find some areas where I think might hold deer. I wasn't looking so much for deer in general, like trying to identify, like a target buck or anything. I'm just looking for areas where it's accessible so that my kid can get in there. It's a relatively easy hike if we have to leave. The terrain is pretty forgiving. It's not going to be super steep like Elkwood. And anywhere where I'm seeing, groups of does or anything where I know, they're at a certain band, they're at a certain location, I can look slightly above them on the elevation band, or I can look in more thick cover around the does. And I found a couple of those that were in spots where I believe that I could actually get my little brother to, and I could get my son to, and we could have a successful hunt. During the scouting, we watched a beaver building a dam and splashing around. There was some hawks down in this valley that were making some noise. I saw tons of does everywhere. Seen a couple little 2 points. Was feeling pretty good. The area seemed pretty traversable. There was a lot of road systems and everything where I wanted to take everybody, and it was just the anticipation of getting ready to start.
With this area, it definitely was a completely different aspect to the elk hunt we had. And so it definitely changed the different mindset, because I know deer are a lot more agile, they're a lot quicker, and they're a lot smarter. And so with that, it definitely takes a place in your mind of how you're going to do this. And even though the sagebrush can get up to 4 feet high, but mostly like 2 feet, it's dense, it's thick, it's hard to find a way to walk around without making noise, or finding a right way to walk through.
Ma. 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 Ma.
Whoa, we drafted snow. The snow is so good.
So day one on the opening weekend, my son and I went out, and we didn't really hunt the mornings because, he's little. I wanted to make sure he slept and got some breakfast. We made the trip fun. I didn't want him waking up too early. I didn't want to sour it for him this early on in his hunting, experience. That first day, we didn't really see a whole lot. I seen a couple of does. There were some does that were, sparring with each other or fighting with each other over something under a tree that I had seen. I had fun out there with my son, and we knew the next day, so day 2, that my little brother was coming out and he was bringing his daughter. So on day 2, we had me, we had my little brother Brandon, we had my niece Jazzy, and we had my son Archer. And all of us were just in the truck, driving around the roads, just giving the kids a good time and looking to fill his tag.
The hunting line starts with a cattle guard on the road. It starts with So the second you go, you're like, oh my God, where are they? So not too far after going into that mountain, pull off, and sure enough, 3-4 does, not even being there a couple hours, we're already seeing 3-4 of them. This is a totally different aspect from the elk hunt we just had a week ago where we saw nothing. And so it instantly skyrocketed my hopes. And so one thing that was nice about this trip, though, is even though I have all my excitement and all the things I used to do when I was, a teenager, this is my daughter's first hunt. And, well, even though she's not hunting, but this is her first. And so I was genuinely excited to kind of show her, like, what I do when I go out here, what I do for my hobby. This is more than just sport or fun. This is my providing, like, aspect of my life that I love to do. When we were traveling through, we come across this little river, and we decided to take a little break, and we looked back, and a whole squad, like 12, 13 deer just started coming down, didn't care at all. We looked at this group forever trying to find that mysterious buck that I swear on my life I saw. With the way we were going about it, I would honestly say a good 85 to 90% of it was just glassing and staring and really trying to pick out those body patterns.
We looked high and low, and it's exciting seeing that many deer and, being able to show the kids that kind of stuff. And we didn't really have to get out of the truck and do a whole lot. It was just nice weather and listening to some music and just glassing around and just having a good time. So it was just a lot of stopping at points and glassing, and just trying to pick a buck out of these groups of does we saw.
So if my memory serves me right, we probably saw about 50 deer and not a single buck. But 50, which means they're there.
Day 3, it was just me and my son, and we went up, and it's just hitting the same areas over and over again and just glassing from the same knobs, just trying to pick a buck out as they're starting to come out of the woodwork. I set up a tripod and I'd glass while he's playing in the dirt. And then I'd load him up in the truck. We'd drive to the next glassing point. He'd get out and play in the dirt. I'd pull out the tripod. I'd start glassing, and we just kept doing that over and over again.
Dad,
What's that?
guess what told me?
Oh, you're welcome.
He's having fun. I'm having fun. I'm looking for deer. He's getting dirty and playing with his construction vehicle toys and stuff like that. And it was a good time. And we were hunting in kind of that early rut phase. So some of the little bucks were starting to get a little ruddy, but some of your older bucks are just barely starting to feel it. Does are definitely grouped up. The bucks are going to be close-ish to the does. They're not right on top like full-blown rut, but they're starting to get ruddy. Stay consistent, same as any other day. It was set up a tripod, glass. Move the tripod, glass. Drive to a new point, set up the tripod, and glass. And pick these mountains apart. And I'm looking, and all I'm seeing are doe groups after doe groups after doe groups. And I just cannot turn up a buck.
I love it, Dad.
Hold on, buddy.
I spent hours behind my binoculars and behind my spotting scope, and I think I've memorized every bush on that mountain, just picking it apart for these bucks.
We decide to take a different trail that's going to bring us up to a different mountain peak that's off from where we were. We start going around and heading up, and we start making it towards the top. There's probably another 15 miles of usable road, and we take a break off to do our glassing as we've been doing. And up at the top, I see 3 does that are just scattered across the top. Once we got done glassing them, we decided to head up, just get closer to them, feeling that I have to check them out. I have to see what these does are doing. And we head up, we go to the point where it's kind of on the maps and trails, it's kind of saying that it's going to get sketchy, thin roads, not really good turnaround points. So we're kind of deciding, okay, it's now or never. What are you thinking? What are we going to do? And I'm not seeing any bucks. So it's like, all right, let's call it. I'm going to drive up until we see a turnaround point, and then that's it. Like, I only get 2 days for each hunt, and this is my last one. So I'm like, both tags, I'm eating tag soup. Are you kidding me? We get up, we go around the bend, and right as I go around, just kind of hidden underneath the hood of my truck, I see a trail starting pacing over right off that, and it leads to the hill behind them higher up on those 3 does we saw. And I look at Mikel and I'm like, I have to walk this trail. I have to. And so following that intuition that it's an early rut and we're seeing the 3 does over here, when we see that little split off and we look over and we see another doe that we hadn't seen prior. And this one was kind of younger. And so we're just thinking nothing of it. We're thinking, okay, no bucks yet, no bucks. Well, the one thing that kind of steered me towards more was once we started walking down to see if there was any more of those deer there, we come across just this single perfectly circled spot of water.
Yeah, the deer tracks.
And right in it was a whole bunch younger does, small doe tracks. What's around all those doe tracks? 2. One's a big buck and one might be a buck. But we knew buck. So we were like, okay, if these are just as fresh as these doe tracks and we're seeing does right here, we have to make sure that there's not a buck around them. It was harder for me to be excited because I was honestly putting myself down. Just, we ain't seeing bucks. I'm not tagging out this year. And so I'm kind of just like looking down at my feet, just making sure I don't trip because the sun's starting to get lower. And sure enough, Mikel's boy points out some deer, and I look up, and sure enough, both of us, me and Mikel, see it at the exact same time. There's 3 does coming across the trail, and right in between all 3 of them, a spike. Legal spike. I can shoot that. And it is game on. Right after we saw that, we dropped to our knees, hid behind a little bush that was all by itself. It was the only cover we had to hide from this thing. And it just starts walking along into this deep little patch of bushes, stops right in there. And while we're sitting there, I have my rifle up just in case he decides to run out. And an ATV comes barreling over. And I was like, is he going to scare these deer away? Is he going to scatter them off? Are they going to run? And luckily, while I'm sitting there trying to keep an eye, Mikel looks back and he's like, no, turn around. We got a buck. We're going to get this guy. And so they politely turned around, kept it as quiet as possible. They rolled off. They kind of just dipped off, and we were like, our initial thought was there's a hillside right there, and he's going down it. Like, we got to get him, as I see the does coming out through the clearing. And so once I kind of repositioned myself, I realized that my shooting sticks were just not going to work. The terrain is just not viable for me to be in a crouched position. I'm like, this is a standing shot. I have to make it. When he stopped and that doe was standing in front of him, I literally felt like I was staring at that deer for days. It was so intense, and I could feel my heart in my fingertips. That's how bad it was pounding. I'm waiting, and I'm sitting so patiently and quietly, and I'm holding that rifle, and even though I'm tense, I'm starting to get tired, because that rifle, it's full wood stock, and it's a heavy son of a gun. And so finally, I'm like, I gotta let it down just for a second. From my point of view, you can see twigs and brushes covering his vitals very slightly. Once he takes those 3 steps out, that gives me a perfect clearing. Go, Brandon. Time froze. I'm just watching him. I can hear my breath. I can hear everything in me. I hear my heart. And I hear the metal creaking from my trigger. It's so in tune. And finally,
got him. Stay on him. Stay on him. Watch him.
Watching. He ain't moving.
Stay there.
I didn't feel it at the time, but apparently I blew my hat off. I know he's down, but I'm going to be safe. And so as soon as I have eyes on him with the scope and I see that I am not noticing any movement, that's when you can see me launch my pursuit forward to get closer to him as fast as possible, to get a better, closer shot if I need to. As I'm running towards the deer, you start getting that feeling that fills your body of adrenaline, of energy, excitement, every kind of overwhelming emotion.
Hang on.
He got him. Uncle Brandon got him.
Oh yeah, tears were definitely shed. It's a very joyful, tearish thing. It's like it's just, you did it. You've accomplished this. It's a lot of things that are just kind of overwhelming you.
I'm gonna cry, man.
I'm gonna cry. This is beautiful. Oh my goodness gracious. Spike or nothing. This is what we do it for right here.
Archer, over here, buddy.
Oh, just on a whim, I was like, you know what? We're gonna take a detour. Goodness gracious. It's like, you know what? We're gonna take a detour. Something tells me this road, it's speaking to me. And sure enough, track after track, you could see where they were stepping, the ground was crackling around them from breaking that fresh crust of dirt. And so you knew they were so close. And the second we saw that those tracks are spread nice and wide, we're like, there's a buck around here. Because sure enough, that those 2 other adult does came up hanging out with this guy right here. And then as soon as we came over the ridge right behind us, sitting there and looking over, trying to spot those does we saw. Sure enough, I look over, right over the hill comes him and 2 other does. And I'm just sitting there and I'm trying to hold my rifle up for the shot because I'm standing. And he's right here behind these bushes. 2 does guarding his path. And as soon as they walked away, he stared at us for a moment longer. I had to put my arms down for a second. That rifle was getting so heavy. And then sure enough, he steps out. Yeah, it wasn't a broad shot. He was kind of like, we're right here. He's facing us like this. I did my best to manage my breath. I popped that round off and I just see him drop. Oh my God, this is beautiful. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna cry, man, I really am. Oh, dude, serious. Oh my God. I'm super emotional right now. Oh. Last time I shot a deer was almost 10 years ago. I've had this rifle sitting collecting dust, sighting it in, wondering when the day is going to come that I finally get to use it again. What a beautiful creature. Oh, thank you for this opportunity. Oh, you got to see the whole moment, bud. Thank you for being here. Thank you, bud. I know, that fell off. Thank you. Oh, goodness gracious.
I got another kill.
Dragging the deer out, though, was terrible. So the initial plan was to just grab his horns and drag him out, and that was working for a while, and then we all got tired. The thing about it, though, is even though we were in super mountainous terrain, it was a two-tracker, but it did have steep, moments. But all in all, it didn't seem like it'd be terrible to drag out until we were there. Once you have dead weight behind you, you definitely feel it. That was when it really started to give that final emotion of the hunt. The final emotion for me being it's there, and it's such a breath of excitement and relief all at the same time. And then that's when everything starts to wear off. That's when the adrenaline, the exercise from hiking them, it all starts to calm down. Even though you're still excited, and I was excited until I laid in bed. So that whole ride home, I'm feeling it slouch in my body, and I'm still excited. I'm like, oh my God, I got this deer. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to sleep this off.
So today is day 5. Seen probably 50 to 60 does over the last 5 days. I just finished doing a run around this knob that I'd seen a lot of tracks on yesterday. It's the foothills below where my little brother shot his deer last night. I had my son with me the whole time, so we're kind of just running the road, see what we can see from these high glassing points, and see if we can make a play. And come around the corner and there's people walking all through the trees. There's people walking through all the trees and everything down below. There's hunters running the rim. So I'm gonna try different spots, keep running these high points, glassing down, and see what I can see from these glassing points. The deer, they're starting to get a little ruddy. Some of the younger bucks are sniffing does and stuff. They're starting to come down. Got some tips from some people we helped out yesterday, who told us that to start looking at some of the lower land. He was saying that he's noticing a lot of the deer getting pushed out of the high stuff by other hunters. We haven't had the weather this year like we had in previous years to kind of shut down some of the the roads and those side-by-side trails with snow and rain, that kind of stuff. So people are actually able to get to the tops, and apparently it's putting a lot of pressure up there. And still just a lot of hunting pressure on a lot of this place. So we just gotta try to stay positive. All we need to turn up is one deer. We were able to fill my little brother's tag, so we got one of them filled. We got the meat in the freezer. So we're gonna keep pushing. We're gonna do what we can, see what we can see, and hopefully we can fill my tag. I have today, and I have one more day. After that, I'm gonna take a couple of days in between off, or I won't be able to hunt due to work and other things. But I got today and one more day. The last day for me is the last day of the season, so we're just gonna keep going. I've heard a bunch of people say it, and I'll say it too, is just the last day is better than the first day. The grind is gonna continue. We're gonna try to turn up a buck. have this storm rolling in here. It's starting to rain. I did look way across the basin here and find a bull moose. That was pretty cool.
I got it. I got it. I got it, Dad.
I've seen a lot of does from a lot of these glassing points. Talking to some other hunters, same thing. All they're really seeing is does right now. Getting ready to pack up to meet Brandon again to hit the evening hunt. We got a couple of spots that we're going to go into and 2 sets of eyes looking with him. See if we can't turn anything up this evening. So I'm getting ready to pack up off this glassing knob and head on over there. This storm rolling in should be good this evening hunt. I got a good feeling that we should at least turn something up this evening. And hopefully it's a decent buck and we can come out of here with some meat for the freezer.
With every sighting, it's more and more hopeful. Even if you see a buck that you just can't get to, or 100 does, it's a level of excitement because it lets you know that wherever this deer is, its dad or son is with them too. Somewhere in this mountain range, they're there.
So we go back to the same mountain that Brandon shot his spike on day 5. We get on this glassing point and I'm looking at big country. I mean, I'm glassing anywhere from 200-300 yards away and about 2 miles away. And it's the same setup where Archer's out there playing with his vehicles and I'm behind the glass looking, and I end up turning up 2 bucks. One of them is a decent 4x4 and the other one that he's running with is a 2x2. And I watch him bed down and I'm thinking, oh, I got to make a move. So we make this big loop all the way around and we get on the same hillside as them. Just due to how thick the cover was and everything, I wasn't confident that if I was to, dip down straight off the face of this and kind of get across, that 1, I'd be able to see him, and 2, I don't think Archer would have been able to make that walk. And I definitely didn't want to ruin it for him. I wanted him to be involved. So we go around and I get to a point where he can kind of walk with us. And I actually, for a better part of this 3/4 mile stalk, I carried him. So I'm carrying all my gear, my camera equipment, my rifle, and my son on this stalk. And once I start getting into the closing distance, I'm within rifle range, I'm about 500 yards away. That's when I handed Archer over to Brandon and I was like, okay, I'm going to try to get within a certain distance of these deer and I'm going to see if I can pick them out in the thick stuff. And at one point I ended up coming around this juniper and I could see antler tips. And I knew that it was this 4-point. And so I'm watching him, and I get my gun up and I get ready just in case. And I sat there, and eventually I watched the antler tips kind of fade down the hill, and I never did get a chance at that buck. The last day I decided I'm going to put all my eggs in that basket, and I'm going to spend the better part of this morning on this hill, and I'm just going to pick it apart. So I spent almost the entire day there glassing, and that day was just glass does. But Archer got a kick out of it because he gets to play every time I put him down, so he's really enjoying it. But seeing the number of deer that I was seeing really kind of keeps you motivated. I mean, yeah, you're not seeing the bucks, but there were deer everywhere. I mean, every canyon I went into, I was catching does. All in all, at the end of this trip, I had seen 3 bucks to, I'd say 100 does. I mean, who knows? I could have seen some of the same does more than once, but it just felt like every time I pulled my binoculars up on something, there's does. They were everywhere. I never did see the bigger buck, but I did pick out that 2-point again. So he's in a spot where I could get to him if I drove around and I kind of came up this valley and got across from one of these little foothills. So I get down there, I grab Archer, I pick him up, and we start walking. And I carried Archer up this hill for about a half a mile before putting him down. And it was funny because I'd see the deer and I'd get ready to take a shot, and I'd ask Archer, I'm like, hey buddy, do you see the deer? And he'd go, no, I don't see him yet, Dad. And so I'd point him out and I'm like, okay, you see the trees, you see the off to the side, you see that thing moving? And he goes, yeah, I see it. I'm like, okay, that's the deer. And right around the time that happens, the buck starts to, see us, and we're making a little bit of noise because he's little, he doesn't fully have the, quietness in there yet. And ended up not getting a shot at that deer. But after everything was said and done, the sun's going down and we hear a lot of twigs snapping in front of us.
Archer, do you hear the deer?
with these twigs snapping, we thought it might have been these deer, and it was just light enough that if they came back out of this clearing, I'd be able to take a shot. And what actually came out was a herd of elk. We stumbled right into them. There was probably 30 cows and 2 bulls in this herd, and they were right on top of us. And they come out, and the cows are mewing, and the bulls are letting out these little grunty sounds, and Archer just stood there and stared at him. He loved it. And to be that close to the elk, he didn't get that opportunity during the elk hunt, so we really enjoyed it during this one.
One of the good pleasures I had with this hunt was having my nephew around there with us to enjoy in this hunt and to really feel the full extent of what it is. And another thing that's kind of nice about it is with him being there with me as well, it gives us that opportunity to say, hey, remember that time? If, I know he's young, but maybe he can recall that one day and just be like, hey, I remember some hunts. Tell a story, or hey, tell these people, and it just, that's one of the things that I grasp on, is when these things are also opportunities to learn and have memories with each other. When you fill out that tag and you get done and you have that animal and you're sitting there and you really get to thinking about it, it's stronger than anything. It's stronger than any achievement, in my opinion. I've won first places. I've won competitions. They don't feel like this. This to me is like it's one of those forms of you won. You made it, you achieved something.
I would definitely say this was a successful deer hunt. Even though I didn't fill my tag, I was able to give my son a good experience, and I was able to help my little brother fill his. Seeing him come to tears over a spiked deer that he shot, that he hasn't been hunting in 10 years, and for him to finally get this opportunity again and see how much it meant to him was huge. And my son was asking me the whole time. I had to go back to work in the middle of the week, and I'd come home from work and he'd come up to me and go, Dad, are we going to go deer hunting now? And just to see that, everything that I wanted to do besides fill my own tag, I was able to do. I was able to foster this love for hunting in my son from an early age and kind of show him, the fun sides of it and get him going on that. Pass it on to the next generation, and then to reignite the hunting passion that my little brother had for deer hunting. And that's kind of how I would have called this a success. I didn't measure the success in me coming home with a wall hanger or even meat in the freezer. I called this a success because I was able to pass it on to the next generation, and I was able to help my little brother fill his. And it just feels really good to be able to, do that. But I look forward to next year to, maybe I can take my turn to fill my tag, and be able to have my son there for that. And just keep it rolling, keep having the good times for him and keep getting my little brother involved and just keep, getting the family together as much as I can for these hunting trips.
And we're going to take it home. We're digging a giant hole.
You're digging a hole?
Yeah.
Good job, bud.